What's up, guys? It's Fantasy Football Anonymous. Joe Osno here with Rob Shaw. It's here to talk through our favorite week number 15 and our favorite fantasy football plays of the week. Now Schroeder's not here, so someone else will get to go first this week, and I'm going to give that honor to my good friend Robert Shaw. Who do you love this week in fantasy?
I totally thought you were going to say your friend, me. That would have been good.
I should. Next week. I will.
Next week, because, Schroeder, he might not get a chance to watch this. So, you can do it. All right, guys, it's fantasy playoff time. And normally I said I'm the Peyton Manning of the fantasy playoffs. And you know what? Until I win the playoffs, I am the Peyton Manning. Now, with that being said, I happen to be doing really well this year. 3 leagues, I'm up.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll win. 2 of them against Schroeder. 1's against some guy who benched Jordan Howard. That's his fault, not mine. Don't bench Jordan Howard. I know he's been frustrating. Just don't bench that good of a player. All right, so the guys I like this week, I feel really good about this week. I have some good picks. I like Drew Brees this week. He hasn't been that top 5 guy he normally has, been more top 10. He's picking up some momentum lately. With Kamara maybe being a little banged up, it looks like he's going to play. But you don't know. There could be some rust being out. And the Jets, they're not very good defensively. Michael Thomas has looked very good. I think this could be a very good game for Drew Brees. It's a good matchup. That secondary just can't stop anybody. I mean, Denver looked good against that secondary. That's like the ultimate insult to a secondary. So, Drew Brees is a solid play this week. A guy who I kind of was like, I'm not starting him. You heard it here. I am benching Lamar Miller and Cooper Kupp and some other guys, decent plays for Alex Collins in my flex. So I believe in this, guys. I believe in this guy. We mentioned it on the earlier show, sometimes you just need a better offensive line to block for you, and you can make some plays. He's been really good. He'd have a good game, and I'm like, nah, I just wasn't buying into it. But he's had 2 really good games back-to-back, and he just seems to be a touchdown machine. The Ravens finally have something going on offense. They're playing Cleveland, for God's sake. They're going to run the ball. They're going to be up the whole game. And Alex Collins is going to see his fair share of that. I think he will reach the end zone. He's a good play. I got Devin Funchess. He was a guy I was a little cool on last week, and he still performed pretty well, had double digits. And as a matter of fact, he's got 4 straight double-digit weeks in a row. He's really been playing very solid. Since Benjamin left, he's been the main guy. Green Bay can't guard anybody. Cam Newton's a good quarterback. Devin Funchess is a no-brainer. I think he's a good play this week. And the way you beat the tight end, or the way
you punch him in the face. That's how you beat the tight end.
The way you beat the Denver Broncos is with the tight end.
Unless you're the Jets.
And so Jack Doyle's my play for this week. That's no game. I don't take anything from it. But he did have a 2-point conversion that should have won them the game. That there was a questionable pass interference call that was called, I kid you not, a minute after. I thought it was like taunting or something. I was going nuts. But, that's been the key here. And I think he's going to be looking for Jack Doyle, and I think he's a good play. Maybe a sleeper, but I kind of liked him this week and put him in my like spot. Joe, who do you got?
Well, we have one guy in common. It's Devin Funchess. Green Bay struggled with those big number 1 physical receivers who are not named Mike Evans. So I think he's a very good play this week. And sticking with that game, I love Aaron Rodgers this week. I think he's gonna step right back in and be great. Panthers secondary is very beatable. They came up with some nice plays against the Vikings last week, but Case Keenum was still able to make some things happen. And Aaron Rodgers is much, much better than Case Keenum. That's my argument. Boy, I'm really starting to like the Drake, Kenyon Drake. He's on fire as of late. He should, Damian Williams still not practicing. Drake should get the majority of the reps once again, and he's been very effective with his touches. He's a fast guy. Really can break a big play at any time. Love the way he's playing, catching the football. He's capable of putting up another great game against a very beatable run defense. Sorry, Rob. The Bills can't really stop anybody on the ground.
Can't stop them.
And my tight end love of the week, Kyle Rudolph. He's really been on a roll. And we just saw the Cincinnati Bengals get burned by Adam Shaheen for like 4 for 50 and a touchdown. And I think that Minnesota offense gets right back on track at home. And Rudolph keeps his touchdown streak alive. All right, moving over to the guys I'm down on this week. I don't like Alex Smith this week. He's facing a very tough Chargers defense with a great pass rush. I think they'll be able to frustrate him, force him into some the check down tendencies that we've seen from him in the past. Force him to be his more conservative self. And I just think it's a really tough matchup for him. I don't know that this is going to be a very high scoring game, and that there's going to be a lot of points put up. Down on Carlos Hyde this week. We've only seen them give up 2 rushing scores, in the past couple months. While they're very vulnerable against the pass, they really just do not give up much on the ground. Although that offense has seen a boost with Garoppolo there, I just don't think it's a good spot for him this particular week. I'm down on Robbie Anderson this week. I talked about Bryce Petty on our previous show. Yeah, there's just no way that that offense sustains what they were able to do with Josh McCown, who was really playing well. He was a top 10 quarterback. But I just don't – I think it's impossible to trust their weapons right now until we see how it looks with Bryce Petty, and it will probably look very, very bad. I hate the Tampa Bay Bucks tight ends this week. When you've got 2 guys, it's basically like having 0 for fantasy. Both Cameron Brate and O.J. Howard have kind of flip-flopped week to week who the more involved player is. Nobody knows. And nobody's going to know until it's already happened. So I think it's best to stay away from that situation. I was burned last week by Cameron Brate, thinking he's back just because Jameis Winston's back. No, it's not a really reliable thing for fantasy.
I took O.J. Howard. That's kind of why we took the opposite. It's funny, Joe. In the draft app where you do like a snake draft, I was in a rather deeper one with more teams, and I actually had to take Robbie Anderson because he was like the best guy available. I needed a receiver as my last pick, and so I'm just holding my breath there. So guy I'm a little down on is yes, Tom Brady. Now I know I said it's going to be a shootout. All right, I understand that, but currently, right now, they've been dinking and dunking a lot more. Getting Deion Lewis, Rex Burkhead a lot more involved in the run game. And Tom Brady just hasn't been putting up the same numbers he was the last 2 weeks. This is a Steelers defense that let Alex Collins run all over him. While I do like Alex Collins, this has been a problem for the Steelers. And I think they're going to stick to that. I think they're going to try to run the ball a little more, especially when they get in the red zone. I've seen Burkhead be very effective when they get down there, and I think they might lean on that a little more. I do think that Brady will move the ball more. I don't think he's going to put up 8 points, but I do think it's going to be around the 15 range, so I am down on Brady this week. I got Williams. He's been very good. He's won the starting job, which I was a little. I mean, he's been playing very well, but Aaron Jones was playing very well too. He's still holding it off. Jones coming off that injury. But this is just a bad matchup for Jamal Williams. You got Aaron Rodgers coming back. They do like to throw with Aaron Rodgers. And a much more susceptible Carolina Panthers secondary than it is that front seven. So I think this is a week that we're going to finally see a decline. Aries will be able to do a whole lot. Brandon Cooks, another Patriot. I just feel like he's fallen off the face of the earth. Joe, he did have a few steps there and bad throws, but he's just not getting the target share. With Gronk coming back, that's another guy. We got Hogan coming back as well. Came back last week, but as he gets more acclimated to the offense. And they're, like I said, they're dinking and dunking to Burkhead and Lewis, White out of the backfield. That seems to be kind of their game plan. So there's always a chance he could go off, but I'm not trusting him this week. And so finally, tight end, because we talk about him so much. I got Jared Cook. Yes. I know what you're thinking. Oh, but he had a good game last week. They're playing Dallas. They're not a very, good defense. This is Jared Cook. This has been his whole career. When you do fantasy football, you have to factor in the matchups. You got to factor in how skilled you think the player is. You also have to factor in just pure statistics, standard deviations. You got to look into this stuff. And Jared Cook never puts back-to-back double-digit performance. It just doesn't happen. We just never see it from him. He's Mr. Inconsistent. Anytime his price goes up in daily fantasy, you're just going to get burned. You kind of want to go after Jared Cook if people are cooling on him a little bit and he's cheap. So we pick on him all the time. Jared Cook, we loved you once. That was more than enough. You're on my dislike list this week.
Very, dislike, kind of soft there, Rob. You hate the guy.
He's a nice guy. I personally have nothing against him. Just in fantasy football. Yeah. Yeah, he's not good. He's pathetic.
There you go. That's more like it.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to our sneaky plays of the week. I'm going to go with my quarterback, Balake. Where's Balake at? Blake Bortles.
Woo!
He's been on a hot streak recently, and I think he has a very very exploitable matchup this week. We saw him put up those pretty solid numbers against the Seahawks. I think that has a good chance to continue over here against the Texans, who have been a little bit leaky against the pass. We saw Garoppolo put together a nice week a week ago. And I think he's a very viable streamer this week, and very sneaky play. As my sneaky running back, I have no one because I did not want to endorse Kerwin Williams as a streamer this week, and that was about as close as I could come to a sneaky play. So I thought I would suggest some sneaky ads for the fantasy playoffs if you're still involved, and if you possibly are someone who plays in Week 17. I'd say you should add James Conner. He's in a very good offense. And just in case anything happens to Le'Veon Bell, he'd be a very good plug-and-play option. We've seen that Steeler backup running back is a very valuable position for fantasy. Malcolm Brown, I think you can add from the LA Rams. Similar in a really good offense. And if anything were to happen to Todd Gurley, I think he would have value. And same goes for Aaron Jones of Green Bay. Rob already talked about Jamal Williams, but if anything were to happen to him, I think that offense is about to get a huge upgrade with Rodgers back. So he's a good add too, if you have an open bench spot, just to stash an upside guy. My sneaky play of the week is more of a gut call at wide receiver. I'm playing him in DraftKings. T.Y. Hilton. I'm back on him this week with his return home. I think he's in a. This is purely a gut call. So whether or not you want to listen to me is up to you. And my sneaky tight end of the week, Ricky Seals Jones. Schroeder's not here to bark like a seal.
Yeah,
So Rob will fill in for him. Those Washington Redskins have been very vulnerable against opposing tight ends. We saw that last week with Hunter Henry. I think there's sneaky upside here for Seals Jones against the Redskins defense that's really collapsed in recent weeks. A team that's really collapsed in recent weeks. They just they have nothing to play for, and they're acting like it. So I think probably, but yeah, I think he's a good play this week.
Yeah, T.Y. Hilton makes me sick. Oh, anyway.
Yeah, I would not play him in season-long leagues by any means.
The first time I've owned him in years since his rookie year, and anyways, I'm not happy about that. I curse people. You know Russell Wilson, I've only drafted him 1 week. As much as I love him, being a Wolfpack fan, and I drafted him 1 year, and it was last year when he was hurt. And anyways, I need to probably do something about that now that he's at a premium coming into next year's draft. So my sneaky play, I like that Bortles call. You know, Bortles, he has played good football before, so it's not like a shock. Like,
not like we've never seen this before, yeah.
Yeah, like, he's an interesting one. I'm like, still haven't made up my mind about him. I don't wanting to just write him off completely, and I don't know, they're playing well. Like, it's hard to I'll have to think about him more in the next couple weeks. But I got Tyrod Taylor. That's pending if he plays. He is expected to play. And while this Miami defense played very well against New England, I see it as more of a good game from them. We've seen them perform poorly.
It's a 1 week arboration.
Sorry. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think Tyrod Taylor's their pass rush looked very good, which means Tyrod Taylor will be running a lot more, I think, in this game. With that upside, and with some of the weapons back, Benjamin has come back and looked pretty good in the snow game. I think there's a lot of upside for Tyrod Taylor to have a nice game. Could definitely eclipse the 20-point mark. My running back, I'm with you, Joe. There really aren't many good sleepers here in weekly fantasy. I'm going to go with LeGarrette Blount, even though he kind of had a bad week, only had 7 carries. Nick Foles is now in, and I think they're going to try to not ask a lot from Nick Foles and focus on the running game. Jay Ajayi will get most of the carries, but Blount is still involved in this offense. Yeah, he's usually the cheaper option in your daily fantasy, and they're playing the Giants, which have, rewarded yards and touchdowns to players. So, anything can happen when you play the Giants. There's a lot of points going around there. This is a guy, I actually don't love him this week, but I just wanted to mention him because I feel like he's kind of one of those sneaky ads. Corey Coleman, he's strung together a few nice games since coming off of injury for the Browns. A lot of the talk's been about Josh Gordon, and Josh Gordon has looked very good. Good for him for, finally, being able to get clean and play. But Corey Coleman, he's a talented wide receiver. He's had some health issues, his first 2 years, but, he could be he's probably still available in a lot of leagues. And in week 16, 17 could have some much more favorable matchups than Baltimore. This is a Baltimore team that did yield a lot of points to Pittsburgh. I don't see that happening this week, but, it is possible. So Corey Coleman's interesting. And we talk crap about him all the time. Yet I'm the only, y'all may have picked him once for your sneaky, but I know I did once. And he didn't do that good. But I'm going with him this week. Eric Ebron playing against Chicago. Here's the thing about Eric Ebron. Yeah, he had a big game last week. He had 10 catches, huge game. Just looked like a football player again. Not the way Schroeder hates when people say football player where they don't have a position. I mean, it looked like he actually belonged on the field because he was playing bad early. You might think that's an outlier. That was my initial thought when I was thinking about it. But then I looked, the previous 3 games, he had 4 catches in each game, getting targeted, 4 catches for a tight end. You know, if you're putting that up as your minimum on a weekly basis from your last 4 weeks, I think that's pretty good, especially for a sneaky tight end. So I like him this week as, you know, a sleeper tight end, be a cheap option, or, you know, if you've had some injuries or, you know, whatever it may be, you need a tight end in the playoffs. Eric Ebron, getting some solid playing time, getting a lot of catches. So could be some production there against Chicago.
Yeah, out of the blue, he had 10 receptions last week.
That was a little absurd. He won't do that. That was an outlier. But
I would set the over-under for him at like 3 standard fantasy points this week.
And I would go with the over, definitely, on that. You know, but I wouldn't be shocked if he had 5 points, you know, like 4 catches for, you know, 51 yards. Like, but I think he's more involved in the offense and won't be non-existent as he has been most of the year.
Okay. I don't hate it. I've always wanted to believe in him until he's just left me disappointed again and again and again.
He's been a tough one. He's been a tough one. The scary thing is the Lions could have drafted Odell Beckham Jr. like right before Eric Ebron.
So could a lot of teams. Anyway.
Yeah, good point.
Thanks for watching, guys. As always, remember to like and subscribe to our channel here. And you can follow us on Twitter at FFAnonymous3, and or hit us up with your start-sit questions at FFAnonymous3@gmail.com.
Joe,
as always, stay addicted.
Yeah, I got one more thing to say.
All right.
To, like, kill your intro. In the near future, just a little announcement. I actually didn't tell you this, Joe. I'm just making this as we go. We might be coming out with a podcast pretty soon. So everything you see here, you can get on audio. We're going to be looking into that in the next couple weeks and definitely have that for next season. Just something I was looking into. So
and we should be pretty active during the off season as well. Maybe a bi-weekly show. I think we could string together. We could, you know, we'll be bringing you our very, very early first round for next year.
Yeah,
pretty soon after the season, because, you know, we're addicts and we're not going to stop with this fantasy stuff.
Football season never ends.
Anyway, before I was rudely interrupted, I was about to say, have a great week. Enjoy the fantasy, enjoy the football, and stay addicted.